Hello, how's it going? Today, we're talking about the fall of the Keepers. Loken's returning to Ulduar after sealing the Halls of Valor. It's time to set his plan in motion to defeat the other Keepers. So let's go! Mimiron was sat in his workshop investigating the strange anomalies in Loken's new Titan forged. He suspected that the Forge of Wills had malfunctioned and caused the impurities he observed. But before he could pursue his theory, he died in what appeared to be a tragic accident. Only it wasn't a tragic accident, it was murder. Loken had sabotaged the workshop. As Loken congratulated himself and moved on to the next keeper, Mimiron's mechanomes realised that their master spirit lived on. They got to work, singing a little song that sounds like Hi-Ho, but due to copyright reasons, it was slightly different. And they built a giant mechanised body to house the keeper's fading soul. This act saved Mimiron, but his mind was broken. He would forever be lost in the inner workings of his clockwork inventions within the vast workshops of Ulduar. Loken met with Freya at the Temple of Life in the Storm Peaks. Freya was like, "Oh hi Loken," and Loken was like, "Ha ha!" Freya struggled valiantly in this battle, but she ultimately fell to Loken and the shadowy powers Yogg-Saron had granted him. Yogg-Saron itself seized on Freya's weakened state. It compelled her to return to Ulduar and do some gardening forever. I mean, it seems like that was a nice thing to do considering she loves flowers, but you can't help but think maybe Yogg-Saron has some ulterior motive here. Some of Loken's Titan Forged waged war on Keeper Hodir. Two fire giants named Ignis and Vulcan led the assault. They enveloped the Temple of Winter in blistering infernos, sapping Hodir's strength and decimating his followers. Loken then arrived after the hard part was done and subdued Hodir directly. Yogg-Saron warped Hodir's mind, forcing the Keeper to retreat to a chamber in Ulduar where he would remain alone for millennia, which sounds kinda boring. Keeper Tyr witnessed the attack that had taken place on Hodir in his Temple of Winter. He had suspected a darkness was growing within Loken, but obviously witnessing this attack had kinda ultimately proved his suspicions correct. I like to think that it still took him a while. He stood there, watched the Temple of Winter go up in flames, watched Loken himself subdue Hodir, and he's like, "Wait a minute, I think I left the oven on." He gets home, goes to the kitchen, sees that he did leave the oven on, switches the oven off, and then he's like, "By God, I have a dentist appointment." You guys get the picture. He figured it out eventually. Tyr was in no position to confront Loken directly. He stood little chance against an entire army. So, he took Archaedas and a Titan-forged giantess named Ionea to the outskirts of the Storm Peaks. And they just kind of stopped there and watched and waited. I think the idea was for them to observe Loken's scheme unfold and figure out the next move, but it kind of seems like they just went on a little camping trip. Loken dispatched his forces to hunt them down. They scoured the mountains and caves but did not find them. Loken took this as evidence that they'd fled the region entirely and asserted sole dominion over Ulduar. He altered the machineries within and used them to anoint himself the new Prime Designate of Azeroth. He disabled the tainted Forge of Wills and banished many of his servants. Thereafter, he sealed off the fortress of Ulduar. He languished in regret within the silent halls of the fortress. Despite his plan being successful, he couldn't shake the fear that one day, either the Pantheon or Algalon would return to the planet, discover what he'd done, and punish him. The irony is that the Pantheon are already there in spirit form and know exactly what a ballbag Loken is. In truth, the very real threat was right beneath Loken's feet. No longer under the watchful eyes of Ulduar's jailers, Yogg-Saron is beginning to stir, and working to free itself. And we're leaving it there! So, with the exception of Tyr, Archaedas and Ra, the Keepers are kind of locked away and weakened inside Ulduar, waiting for you to go there and do that raid. We'll be finding out what Ra is up to in the next video. However, once again, it's a fairly short bit of story, so I'll probably try and upload that before Tuesday. And then on Tuesday, we can talk about some newish stuff, like Trogs. You want to know more about Trogs? Come back on Tuesday. Subscribe to the channel so you don't forget. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to hit that like button. You can talk to me in the comments. Talk to me about anything. I won't judge. Unless it's like weird stuff. I don't want to talk to strangers about weird stuff, and I'd definitely judge. But all that's left to say is, thanks very much for watching, and see ya!